Hello, and welcome to Looking Back, Looking Forward. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some of the trends we're seeing from the standpoint of artificial intelligence. And I think this idea of AI is one that is getting a lot of attention, a lot of investment around the world. But I think there are an increasing range of real concerns that we're seeing emerging. And I think some of these have often been framed in the context of macro issues such as the potential impact of AI in the context of jobs, or if one wants to think about your ultimate sorts of issue, the idea of the potential of a singularity for the standpoint of sentient, independent AI, and for the potential extinction level event that could perhaps cause. We've also had a large focus from the standpoint of a range of micro issues, particularly issues around things like fairness, around decision-making, around explainability, around a range of sorts of black box type issues. And these are issues that my colleagues and I have written about extensively, particularly in the context of the financial services sector. But I really want to focus in on what I think are two rapidly emerging issues. One of these very much has to do with negative uses of AI. In other words, I think there's often a focus from the standpoint of positive impacts or potentially negative impacts of what were supposedly meant to be positive uses. But in reality, we're seeing very rapid development in the context of negative uses. What do I mean by this? I mean that over the past couple of years, we've seen a very dramatic increase in digital fraud and crime. And certainly there has not only been a link between the new speed and ease of making payments and transactions, and the fact that maybe we actually want to slow this down a little bit, but also the development of ever easier to access and use from the standpoint of criminals and fraudsters of generative AI, machine learning tools, and the like. And as a result, I think from the standpoint of much of the financial services sector, as well as an increasing range of the public, these issues around digital fraud and crime are increasingly real. And it's something that I think we need to think very carefully about. How can we go about combating these in the best ways? And often it does mandate the increasing use of AI tools ourselves. It also mandates a greater amount of digital literacy, financial literacy, but also a greater use of things that slow down transactions a little bit. An extra step here or there, which makes us double check the recipient or that we want the transaction to occur. And the other area where we're seeing this very rapidly develop is in the context of cybersecurity and cyber threats. We're seeing the increasing use of not only generative AI to create threats, but also the use of machine learning, of self-generation, of automated structures from the standpoint of the creation of ever greater numbers of cybersecurity threats. And not only are we seeing increases in volume and sophistication, but we're also seeing, as a result of increasing automation and independence, that these threats are attacking ever wider ranges of targets and sectors. They're moving out of the traditional sorts of financial or governmental sector targets and really attracting anything that matches the criteria where they can successfully engage. And as a result, similarly, we're seeing a real explosion in the use of AI, machine learning tools in the cybersecurity context. There's an ever-growing, if you will, arms race, not only between criminals and law enforcement, but between cybersecurity professionals and threat creators. And I think as we think about what are some of the greatest risks of AI going forward, it's actually these malicious uses. And these malicious uses, I think, have real risks for not only individuals across the world, particularly the more vulnerable, older people, poorer people, lesser educated people, all of whom are more vulnerable to these sorts of threats to begin with, but who are particularly vulnerable to the sorts of AI-based frauds or cyber threats that are now growing so rapidly. And so going forward, I think it's going to be very important to focus on these. And I think if we think about what are some of the biggest, not only opportunities, but real risks in the financial sector, it comes from here.